Thinking about it now, what the Tory party have effectively done is they have withheld their labour unless there were changes made at their workplace. They've resigned from positions or refused positions, promotions, because they don't like the man at the top. And unless the man at the top buggered off, was fired, then they wouldn't be working effectively. That's it. Now, I remember a private prison transport company whom I liaised with during my time in the prison service. And they had problems. The union was effectively in bed with management, with the owners. And some of these people, these officers, they withheld their labour because of several issues, including pay. They weren't getting paid. Can you believe that? Anyway, so they withheld their labour, and then the ringleaders, most of the ringleaders and some of the followers, they were all dismissed quite quickly. So as you can see, normal working class people, if we withheld our labour unless there were changes made at our workplace, then we'd be gone, we'd lose our jobs. And this is a problem with Parliament. I've always said it, folks, right? I know I'm right-wing and I have voted Conservative. I have tried to persuade people not to vote for left-wing parties because left-wing parties are really, well, extreme parties anyway, especially the Labour under Jeremy Corbyn, etc. They are detrimental, their policies. Socialism is detrimental to the future of the country, and it's not good for the people, really. But Parliament as a whole needs reform, big time, root and stem. The people effectively voted for Boris Johnson, and it should be the people who vote the guy out. This is a democracy after all. But politicians have once again thwarted the will of the people. Boris Johnson was the will of the people. Brexit was the will of the people. Millions of people voted for these things, yet a handful, a small group of people have the power to completely screw that over. And it's happened once too often now. Because of these recent events, I am slowly turning and warming to the idea of a direct democracy, because what we have right now is an indirect one. We vote for people to represent us, but they don't have to do as the people ask them to. And so we are effectively, as a people, at the mercy of their free will. And once these people get into Parliament, it's really hard to get them out, because the trappings, the privileges of Parliament it must be so overwhelming that it turns these people into greedy, out-of-touch sycophants who are really in the business of looking after themselves rather than the people and the country who voted them in. And it really, really needs to change. I think I know what it's going to take to change, but I can't say on here. And secondly, they've had Boris Johnson resign. He's going to be caretaker Prime Minister now until the autumn, or until the Conservatives find a new leader. But there are people, there are entities in London who want him out sooner. They don't just want him gone, they want him gone. They want him gone now, because they think he could do harm to the country. How the hell is a lame duck Prime Minister with literally no powers and no cabinet and no Parliament consent and no mandate to do anything? How the hell is he a potential harm to the country? What absolute bollocks, folks. And now they're going to change the rules so they can get rid of him sooner. That's the level of hate they have against Boris Johnson. But cast your mind back 12 years ago now when Gordon Brown lost the election. He was never voted into office. He pushed Tony Blair out. He insisted that that job was his by right. A man so ignorant and stupid and completely unsuitable to the job that he may well be, along with Theresa May, probably the worst Prime Minister ever this country's ever had. He wanted the job badly and he couldn't do it. He couldn't talk to people, he had no common sense, he was just completely out of touch, and he should never ever have been in Downing Street. And yet he insisted on staying on after losing the election. The people never voted him in, the people didn't want him, people hated him, nobody could warm to him. Because Gordon Brown was looking after Gordon Brown. He couldn't even fucking smile sincerely, the guy dripped with insincerity. So anyway, he lost the election in 2010 and he insisted on being the caretaker Prime Minister until the Conservatives could find someone to be in a coalition with, because it was a hung Parliament. But nobody wanted him out. The people voted him out. He should have gone. He never ever had a mandate from Parliament nor the people. He was unsuitable and unwanted. But it didn't change the rules for him. He was allowed to stay. I wonder why. There are just so many people in Parliament now who are just completely out of touch. They have no idea what the people are thinking. And so that brings me to Rishi Sunak. So Rishi Sunak has thrown his hat into the ring in the hopes of being the new Prime Minister. This is testament, ladies and gentlemen, to how ignorant and out of touch he is. He seems to have forgotten everything he has been embroiled in recently. So his head, Rishi Sunak's head, is firmly and clearly up his own arse. If he thinks he can represent the people of this country, then he is surely mistaken. I mean, he is the richest MP in Parliament, but he oversees, ironically, the poorest constituency in the country. I mean, talk about minimum wage, poverty-stricken people. And this guy has done absolutely nothing to elevate them out of that. He hasn't helped them at all. I mean, that should tell you everything. And for the record, folks, everyone in the Conservative Party now, everyone putting their hat in the ring to be the Prime Minister, they don't represent me. If they don't represent me, they don't represent you. Because I know most of my subscribers, they want a patriotic, anti-EU, no-nonsense Brexiteer as the next leader. And it's not going to happen because it's not in any of them. And if we're to get anything close to that, we'll have to dig up Lady Thatcher. I mean, it's true, isn't it? When he was Chancellor, Rishi Sunak cocked up. He gave away billions in this ridiculous furlough scheme during the height of the lockdown. The country, the taxpayer, will never ever see most of that back. You're talking billions. Billions given to people who had no intention of paying it back and never will. And the taxman, the government, they're not even trying to chase these people. And then there's Rishi Sunak's wife, a woman with so much wealth, it rivals the Queen. And he helped her to avoid taxes in this country. And on top of that, he had a green card for the United States during the beginnings of his time as Chancellor. So he was effectively a citizen of another country. And he was running this country's financial affairs. So if this idiot thinks he can run the country and people have forgotten this, then he is sadly mistaken. Either he is ignorant and thinks people are beyond that, or he's completely stupid. And let's face it, folks, most middle class and upper middle class people, they've got no common sense. Or to put it in layman's terms, Rishi Sunak hoping to convince people that he could be Prime Minister is like a burglar who's just robbed a house, trying to convince the kids of that house that he's the best choice to marry their single mum. That's what it's like. I mean, my God, what happens to these people's brains when they enter Parliament? You had that MP who resigned recently because he was caught watching porn twice on his phone next to women while he was sat at Parliament. And he was on Piers Morgan's programme the other night, slagging off the Prime Minister for lying. I mean, my God, these people, I mean, they're from another planet, surely. And so to finish, whoever does get picked by the Conservative Party members to be the new party leader and Prime Minister, they have to thank him for two things. He managed to give the party the biggest majority and the biggest mandate in Parliament since Margaret Thatcher in 1983. And they will definitely be Prime Minister for the next 7 years at least, because the Labour Party is finished. The Labour Party are unelectable. As long as you have Keir Starmer, Angela Rayner and the rest of them there, they don't really represent the people. You've got Angela Rayner, Tory scum. I come from council estate. I'm working class, I am. And yet there she was at the opera last week, quaffing champagne. Yeah, truly working class hero she is, isn't she? So the Conservatives are shit, Labour are worse. So at the next general election, just spoil your ballots. Don't even bother voting for the independents. Because I guarantee you, if they got into Parliament, they'll be exactly the same. Patriotism, British, Western values, culture, history, all out the window in favour of themselves and their pockets. That's how it's always been, and that's how it'll always be, because the system is broke. Anyway, that's my video. Hope you let me know what you think in the comments. And until the next time, I hope you have a great weekend, and Roger Trout.